Dr. Fletcher, I want to follow up on the questions that the chairman raised with you in terms of order flow issues. Doesn't it create a conflict of interest, or at least an appearance of a conflict, when a broker receives a payment from a third party, in this case, a market maker, to fulfill their customers' orders?
Thank you for that question, Senator. Yes, it absolutely creates that conflict of interest because brokers are now, with this payment for order flow model, brokers are incentivized to put their own profit-seeking interests above the interests of customers when deciding where or how to route these orders. This also should raise concerns for us in terms of customers being able to get the best execution from their retail brokers, from their brokers. And so, yes, I agree with your question that this does raise these questions for us.
And so, how does an investor know that their broker is working to find the best execution quality for their investor, not simply working with the market maker that pays them the most?
So currently, under SEC rules, there are disclosure obligations on retail brokers to state what their price improvement is from having routed their orders through different to different wholesalers or market makers. But the retail investor really has very little information in terms of knowing the price at which their order is executed, or what exactly that price improvement was. So retail investors do have less information, and so we do need more or better disclosure for retail investors to be able to evaluate this information.
Are there other costs that payment for order flow imposes on investors?
One of the things that we want to probably be thinking about with regards to payment for order flow is whether or not retail investors are truly receiving a best execution when they are trading, meaning if there are quotes that are, so for example, there are quotes that are available that are odd lot quotes that are typically not included when we think about what the best price is available for an order. And right now, one of the things that I would recommend is that the SEC think about amending some of their rules to include these odd lot quotes, such that truly the best price available is included when we think about the execution for retail investor orders.
Thank you. I'd like to turn our attention to racial inequity in the stock market. Historically, stock ownership has been dominated by white Americans. According to the Federal Reserve, in 2019, only 34% of Black families, 24% of Hispanic families owned any equities, compared to nearly 61% of white families. This disparity only grows larger when you look at the value of equities held. Among families with equities, a typical white family has over 50,000 in holdings, compared to just over 14,000 for a typical Black or Hispanic family. These equities represent funds that families can tap into an emergency, such as the pandemic. We have ample data showing that the pandemic is having a disproportionate effect on minority families, and the lack of savings is one reason why. Dr. Ghilarducci, what are the consequences of disproportionately low participation in the stock market by Black and Hispanic families? And what are some of the challenges holding back minority families from owning equities?
Thank you so much for that question. A lot of my research at Notre Dame has been on non-white families, with anthropologists exactly exploring that question. What holds non-white families, Blacks and Hispanics, from having wealth is not having access to retirement plan at work. Wherever these families have significant holdings, meaningful holdings in stocks and bonds and private equity, in the kind of wealth that we have, because we're workers who have a retirement plan at work, they don't have because of their workplaces. So if we worked to expand retirement coverage to all workers through innovative pensions for all plan, they would have wealth.
One last question, Dr. Ghilarducci. Is the lack of stock ownership among minority families, I should say, an impending factor in their ability to build wealth?
Absolutely. They need Social Security, they need home equity, and they need access to financial instruments, but through professionally managed funds, not through trading on their phone.
Okay. Thank you very much.